Howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome back. This is episode 241.
Yes, sir.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy do, Who fans. Hope you've all had a cracking few weeks and that you've all managed to do something. Doctor Who related.
Related, yes indeed.
Yes indeedy. It's great to be back in the TARDIS, behind or in front of the microphone. I never know which way around it is. In front of the microphone. Yeah, in front of the mic. Chatting Doctor Who. It feels like we've been away for a long time. It hasn't been that long, really.
It does feel a long time. Yeah, I must admit. It feels like years. It has been a couple of months, to be fair. But it's gone really quick, hasn't it?
Gone quick. We've been off for this. We've been hippies. We've been off for a long summer holiday.
Yeah,
we didn't take any microphones with us.
Well, yeah, I think I said on the one that we managed to record in between, I did take all my microphone and stuff to the hotel, and then couldn't use any of it. And then so I moved back for a couple of days. Brought it all back, and I didn't take it with me the second time, obviously, because there was no point.
Why would you?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would you? Yeah.
Just sleeping next to the mic. Ooh.
Yeah. Thank you very much to all of you folks that have tweeted us over the last month or so. It's been great keeping in contact with a lot of you chatting away. Doctor Who, there's not a great deal happening in the world of Doctor Who.
No.
Still very quiet on the news front. We've had no new trailers, no updates, no images, no... We haven't had any faff either. We've had no...
There's been no gossip, has there, at all?
No rumours of people storming out, throwing scripts on the ground, yelling at the sky, I can't do this anymore. I'm out of here. There's been no drama.
No, that's true.
Very quiet indeed. So, yes. It's very good to be back. Thank you very much to all of you guys, like I said, that have kept in touch, and we've chatted with you guys. It's all very, very cool. All being well, we should be back to normal scheduling from this week.
Yeah.
I am going to be on holiday in a couple of weeks. But I think we should be able to record before I go, because I go like at the end of the week. So fingers crossed, schedules permitted, we'll be fine.
We'll work around it.
As always, yes. Before we crack on with the show, remember to listen and subscribe on whatever podcast app you listen to. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box podcast. Give us a like and a sub on those things, and check us out on all the socials. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, along with Adam, the Geek's Handbag. Give him a search and a follow and a like and all that jazz, so we can carry on chatting with you guys and any newbies that decide to jump on to the TARDIS as well. So this could be a big one, but What have you been up to, buddy? I've seen you've been on various trips and whatnot. You've done a lot more than I have anyway.
I must admit, I have really kept myself busy. So the last couple of months obviously been a bit turbulent in my private life, and a bit of an upheaval having to move out and stuff. But the plus side of that is I've really gone for it. Like things where I, when I've sort of thought, no, I might have done that, or, oh, that event sounds good, I'll see what I'm doing that weekend. Because I've sort of been pushed out of my comfort zone and out of home, when stuff's come up, I've just been like, yeah, I'm going, I'm doing it, I'm there. So I've had in a way, although I've had a turbulent couple of months, I've also had a really good couple of months. Yeah, I've been doing quite a few events and stuff. I went to the BFI Mind Warp, which was really good. I know you couldn't make that one. It's a shame. It was a good event, and I got to chat with Maria, who does a lot of our reviews on our website.
Oh, cool.
Had a really cool chat with her, and it was a good event. Colin and Nicola were there. Colin was great on stage, I tell you. Well, and Nicola, they were both brilliant. There's clearly a lot of love between those two. He got quite emotional at one point when he referred to her as his Perry. They're clearly really good friends, and they did a signing after as well, which was good. When they sort of sealed off that room with the blanket, they put the curtain, sorry. They did that, which was good. So yeah, it's nice to meet Colin. I also did London Film Fair, which again was a real spur of the moment. Tom Baker got added, and this was the day after, I think. Yeah, so I'd done Mind Warp on the Saturday, and then all the guys I'd sort of been out drinking with after Mind Warp were like, yeah, we're meeting Tom Baker tomorrow, why don't you come along? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, I've come up to London today, and I'll see how I feel tomorrow. And then I woke up in my travel lodge, and I was like, right, I'm off up to London again. I'm going to go and meet Tom Baker. It was like that. It was like, do I stay in my hotel room and stare at these walls, or do I just go out and do this stuff? And that's what I mean. So I met Tom Baker the next day. So 2 Bakers in one weekend. Tom's looking incredibly well. He's clearly aging like we all do, but he was telling stories and joking around and all this stuff just like he always does. He wasn't showing any signs of sort of quietening down his old age. He was just full of energy. It was great to see. I was gutted. He told my favorite story just as I was in front of him, and I was filming it on my phone. It's from his book. He's basically, because he does sort of tell stories as if they're new, but it was from his book. It's when he was saying, like, he was working with a woman in the theatre, and she's like, you don't remember me, and the punchline is, well, we were only married for a couple of years. He's like, oh yeah. And my phone, blimmin', always full, as you know, because I've got so many photos on it, cut out and didn't save it. I was so gutted. It would have been such a cool little memento of meeting Tom that day. But yeah, he looked really good. And then I'm trying to think, this might have been on the Monday or a few days later or whatever. Our good friend Adam the Whovian was like, oh, I'm meeting Christopher Eccleston in a couple of days. Like, what? Where's this? What's going on? So up to London again, to the National Theatre, where Chris did a 45-minute talk. Way too short. He was fascinating. And if there was one event I would have loved to have been with you, it's that one. Because, we've talked about Chris a lot over the years and why he left Who, and he's quite an intriguing character because he only did that one series and stuff. I'd love you to have been there, mate. As I said, it was a spur of the moment. I was only literally bought my ticket the night before. And he was so interesting, so honest, and it really made me think about why he only did the one series, because he was going through so much in his personal life, and he was talking about anorexia and all these other depressions and things that he's gone through that were affecting him at the time. And I think sometimes, and we all do this, don't we, in real life, we never think about what somebody might be going through. Like if someone was a bit grumpy every day, we sort of think, no, what's up with them? But we don't often think, well, they might be going through some stuff, So that was fascinating. And I got to meet him afterwards because he was signing his autobiography. And I basically said to him, I'm really glad you've started doing conventions again, because we love meeting you. And he grabbed my hand and he went, and I love meeting you. And he just sort of said it so sincere. And it was just a really lovely moment, because the reason I said that is when they asked for questions from the audience, I wanted to ask him what made him change his mind about doing conventions. That was going to be my question, but I didn't get a chance to ask it. So that was sort of the next best thing, if you like. So yeah, met 3 doctors in about the space of a week, which was amazing.
That's awesome.
Also did a quick trip to the Who shop, which was good. And then finally, really, and I have done quite a lot of other stuff in between, but too much to blab on about now. But finally, I got my ticket to the next BFI event, and I know you've got one, and I'm so excited for this BFI Curse of Fenric in November. Just cannot wait. Literally cannot wait. We both love McCoy. To see him on the big screen, it's going to be amazing.
It is. It's going to be an awesome. Yeah, I was gutted I couldn't go to the Mind Warp event. I just couldn't make that one. But we've blabbered so much on the podcast over the last year, I suppose, maybe 2 years, about how cool the BFI events are. So I know they do sell out relatively quickly. You have to keep an eye on the website. So what they do is at the BFI, they open up the tickets to members first. I think it's about a week or 3 or 4 days before the public. And then, because it tells you if you do a search for an event, if you just search for Doctor Who, it will tell you the date and time that those tickets go on sale. And that is the public time. It's not the members' time. So if you can in any way manage to get hold of a ticket or manage to, not necessarily this one coming up, the Fenric one, but any of the events in the future, there's something amazing about packing a cinema out with Doctor Who fans and everybody sat around watching, because it's like you're in, the same company. You're all pretty much there for the same reason. You're all fans of Doctor Who and so on. And it's just such a good atmosphere and a good vibe. And then you have the drinks afterwards and stuff, and you get to talk to other Who fans. And it's just I'm so glad that they do that, because they don't have to, really. They don't, there's no market research or anything that happens like they do with newer Doctor Who that's going on the TV. This is old classic Who. They don't need to do this stuff. It's just because it's an extra cool thing to support the Blu-ray box set and so on. So I love these events, mate. I can't wait to go in November. It'll be nice and chilly in November as well. So get a nice...
Get your Paisley scarf. It's a Paisley one McCoy wears, isn't it? Get your Paisley scarf. I got to say, I love these events. I think they've become my favourite thing. Like, I used to look forward to LFCC and all that, but that's kind of gone out the window compared to these, because there's so much more of a social thing. Well, although I still love like the big conventions and meeting all the big guests, these BFI events are it's just a social thing, isn't it? You see the same people quite often. You get to know people. You just chat Doctor Who. You get to see it on the big screen. They are becoming incredibly popular. This one literally sold out in seconds. I was there. If you'd have seen me, my face nearly exploded with rage the day they went on sale, because the night before, our good friend Morgan said, "Do you want me to get you a ticket?" Because he's a member. And I was like, "No, it's all right, mate. I'm off tomorrow. I will be there at 11:30 when they go on sale. Not a problem. I'd rather get my own. Just, you know what I'm like, but I like to just do my own thing. Thanks anyway, but I'll grab it." So I'm there. I'm all set up. Literally an hour before the computer is on. I'm counting down the seconds to 11:30. 11:30, refresh the page. Right, select my seat. Add to basket. Refresh. Let's do this. What? Sold out? It literally refreshed in like the 20 seconds it took me to tick the box, and I thought it can't have sold out that quick. What? Literally, it's like 32 minutes past. What is going on? I refreshed. It was just coming up sold out, because the reason is obviously BFI members get to buy them a week before, and then they go on sale to the general public the following week. I was just furious, mate. Honestly, I went in the chat. I went in our little group chat, and everyone was like, "Yeah, did you get your ticket?" I got mine. I'm like E4. I'm N2, and I was like, "You all got it?" I'm like, well, I literally was like, "There, what's going on?" Like, I couldn't even get it in the basket, and I was, because McCoy, I've been saying this so much. If there was one event I did not want to miss, I mean, I don't want to miss any of them, but if there was one, it's got to be this, because I just love McCoy. I was furious. I was absolutely throwing my toys out the pram. I couldn't believe that I didn't manage to get a ticket. And I was proper sulking, and I was furious. And I phoned him. I thought, I'm going to get on the phone. I can't have this. I've got to be there. So I got on the phone to BFI, and it's like, "You are more than 5 in the queue." I'm like, oh, and I'm refreshing. All of a sudden, a seat right at the back. came up, and I mean, it is literally right at the back in the corner. It's probably the worst seat in the whole venue, but I was like, get it. So I'm on hold, and I'm like adding it to my basket, and I managed to get one. And I'm pleased because I've done that thing of now I've got one. I still keep going on and refreshing just to see if because they do release more. I know that I could probably rock up on the day, and they very often have tickets on the day, don't they? Because they reserve seats for like BBC people who don't turn up and stuff. People like Frank Skinner, I think they always offer him a free ticket, and sometimes he's not there. So, genuinely, someone will get his seat because he's not turned up, sort of thing. So, there was still a good chance I'd get to go, but I just thought I don't care if it's at the back. I want to be in that room because there's no way I was going to come up afterwards and just meet you guys and hear about you all saying how good. I was like, no, I can't do that. I'll be furious. Anyway, I've got one. It's all good, and I know you got one because Maria got it, didn't she?
Yeah. Big thank you to Maria. She's one of our writers. Does loads of reviews. She actually did a really good review of the Mind Warp event that's on our website. So
she did. Yeah, I was reading it last night. Yeah,
she's really cool. So she bagged me a ticket, which is awesome. So we're going to the show.
We are there.
We are there, mate. Yes.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I honestly can't wait.
Yes, it's going to be good. And yeah, I've my last month, 6 weeks, whatever, has been very quiet in comparison to yours because I've just been so busy with the day job, and my son flew off his bike and broke his wrist a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I saw. Yeah.
So was at the hospital for a few days solid for that because kept waiting for an operation and blah blah blah, and then we had to go back the next day, and we were there again this week. So trips to the hospital and so on. It's just been a busy old time for me. The only thing I've done Doctor Who wise is got back into some reading for Who. So while it's been quiet and there's not much going on, I've watched the odd episode here and there, nothing heavy, but I picked up this book years ago and never read it. It's just been on the shelf. Surprise, surprise. It's called Behind the Sofa.
Behind the Sofa,
which is a collection of.
I know the one.
Yes. So that's a really good read. Anyone that's not, it must only be like a £5 or something now. If you see it in Forbidden Planet or Waterstones or something like that, that's a really good story. It's essentially a collection of people's memories from when they watched Doctor Who when they were younger, and it's very, very cool. And now I'm through about a third of the way through. There was what was it? I'm looking at it now. The Douglas Adams story that was redone or moved along a little bit, The Pirate Planet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm about a third of the way through that because that's another one that was just bought and then stuck on the shelf. So that's not too bad a story. It's I'm hoping it's going to pick up a bit. So that's not too bad. So I've done a bit of reading. I've watched the odd episode, but in a way, it's been quite nice to have a bit of a break from it all because obviously recording the podcast and bringing the show out for you guys on a weekly basis is great and everything. But when there's not much going on in the Who sphere, stuff like that, it's and we've got our reviews that we need to get through as well. We're still ploughing through all that stuff. But it's just been nice in a way, just have a bit of a break and now just to click back on with it. So
I know what you mean. Yeah, it does. It's good to have a break.
Yeah.
Yes. Catch up. I've got loads of books I need to read. I love buying books, and then they sit there and pile up. And I'm like, right, which one shall I read? Like the Eccleston one, that is next on my list. I definitely am going to. I was going to start it last night actually, and I was just too tired. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading that. Yes. I've got the Pirate Planet, but I haven't read it. I think I got a signed one, and but yeah, it's sat on my shelf. I don't think I ever got around to reading it.
Yeah, well, it's just a common thing, isn't it? It seems for us. We just buy stuff and it goes on the shelf, and yeah.
It's like, I'll read that tonight. Oh, I'm a bit tired. I'll do it tomorrow. And then it's like a temporal loop. You just keep going through it.
There you go. Yeah. So that's us. I've seen plenty of guys on Instagram off to various events. I think a few people that we follow on social are at a couple of the same events that you were at. So there is still stuff going on.
Yeah.
Which is good. So, let's hope by the end of the year it picks up and we get some kind of news in some shape or form for the new series.
Yeah,
because we still don't know when next year that's going out. So who knows? Anyway,
it does. Yeah, I was going to say it does. Yeah, it feels very. it's almost, it sounds strange, but I've almost forgotten about it because I'm so into classic at the minute, and then Blu-ray sets, and like you said, there's sort of stuff going on Classic Who related. I've not really been sort of thinking about the new series. I don't know about you. I'm not sort of sat thinking, I probably should be thinking about it more, but it's probably because you've been on a break, and I've just been concentrating on Classic really. But yeah.
Yes. Okay. Rightio. Shall we land this old bird and see what's going on with news and so on?
Okie dokie.
So you mentioned Mr. Eccleston that you met at one of your events, and that you said that you're very glad that he's attending more events, and that continues as next year at the Gallifrey 1 convention over in LA, the Los Angeles airport, on Valentine's Day, in fact, next year. Chris Eccleston will be attending Gallifrey 1.
That's really cool.
Which I would never, if you'd have asked me this question even a year ago, do you reckon Eccleston will ever go and do more than LFCC? I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's probably had a taste of that and thought, sod this for a game of cricket. I'm good, thanks. But no, he seems to, do you know what? I feel like as he's getting older, he's mellowing a little bit in terms of Doctor Who and fandom and that stuff. It feels like.
Yeah, I was going to say I just love him actually. I nearly forgot to tell you this. He nearly lamped. So there's a dealer that we see at all the events that we go to. He's really annoying.
I know who you mean. Yep.
And he was really hassling Chris at the National, and Chris was like, in the end, was like, "Do you want to fight?" He's like, because if you don't leave it, you're going to get one. He's still got a bit of fire in the belly, but he does seem to have mellowed. But it's great to see him doing more events. And I think he said himself, hasn't he, that he's just, didn't he say something about the fans healing? He's found the fans have helped him heal because he's been going through all this stuff that we didn't know about. So maybe he's just really getting something from conventions, not just the money. Maybe he really does enjoy it. It's such a turnaround as well, because like you said, you go back a couple of years, and he famously said on TV, didn't he? "Oh no, I won't be doing conventions." And he's had such a turnaround. But yeah, it's great to see him doing a US one as well.
It is, yes. I think he'll enjoy the US ones because they go the US convention goers. I will admit their cosplay game is pretty strong. I mean, I know ours is getting better, but they do go pretty mad for it. It's all out, which is great. So I think he'll love that. I think that'll be a cool event. And Gallifrey One's always known to be a very good Doctor Who convention. So, anyone wants to, from the UK anyway, wants to head out there, there are still lots of tickets available. I think it's around $100 odd for the weekend. So it's the 14th to the 16th of Feb. And I think that's for the full 3 days ticket. So I think in pounds, it's probably, 80 odd pounds, something like that.
Yeah. So
not too bad, really. The other guests they've got there is, I think Peter Davison is there. Jeanette Fielding, Mark Strickson is there, Fraser Hines, Sarah Sutton.
I love Fraser.
Yeah. So that'll be good, actually. There's got the old classic crew there. And there's like a bunch of other people that have been involved with Who. Lots of writers, screenwriters and producers and so on. People like Paul Cornell's there, Una McCormack, all those sorts of people. Anybody that's been involved in the screenplays or novels and stuff. Bunch of those guys there as well. So it looks like a good event. And they'll probably announce a few more people as well. I know that Colin Baker has been to this one quite a few times, so he might be popped on there, or McCoy or something.
Of course he's there.
Of course, yeah. So yes, we'll put a link in the show notes. Just head over to gallifrey1.com. But yeah, you get to meet Mr. Eccleston himself.
I think his price is good as well. I believe it's around $65, which is less than, because in the UK he's 85, isn't he? Normally, or maybe even 95. I know he's quite a lot here because of, when he was first announced, it was a big thing that he was doing conventions. So hopefully his price in the UK might drop just a little bit as well. Would be nice. But yeah, I think that's good. A good price for him.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And when you convert it to pounds, obviously, it's
yeah. I think I'm right in saying that. Don't quote me on it, but I remember seeing it, thinking, "Oh, that's good."
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yes. So there we go. Eccleston at Gallifrey 1. literally no other news worthy of talking about, to be honest with you.
No.
It's still extremely quiet. Nothing from Chibbers, nothing from the BBC. I think the only thing that we did see was a little hint that there was a new VR game that they released a little while ago. And that a group of people were saying that had a spoiler or something for series. Is it series 13, the next one?
12.
12. It's 12 that's coming up, isn't it? Next year.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. But that was debunked. It's just an isolated little thing. So that looks kind of cool. But
I was going to say, there's no way Chibbers had let a spoiler go into a VR game. He'd have nipped that in the bud before they even got to draw it.
Actually, the only other thing that's kind of cool in terms of news was the release of the Rose story from Big Finish. So Billie Piper had her own story, so she wasn't a companion in that one. It was her own. I think it was called the Dimension Canon. Could be wrong, but yeah. So I've got that. I've got to listen to that soon. I've got it in the list to do. But yeah, that looks kind of cool.
Yeah, because I was listening to your solo show and you were talking about that set, weren't you? Because I know you love Clive, and I was thinking, I bet you can't wait to listen to that set. I haven't bought it because there's just too much Big Finish at the minute, and I really want to hear your thoughts on the Clive story and how they brought him back into it and stuff. So yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think of that when you get round to listen to it.
I will do. Right, that's it for news. Shall we see what the merch is saying at the moment?
Yeah, how is old Dalek Tat these days? You all right?
He's been loving. He's one of these people that just loves to be on his own. So he's been loving life at the minute. But now he has to do something. He's got the hump again. So
bring him in.
Bring him in.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Well, there you are, young man. What do you think of that now, eh? A Viking helmet.
I know, it's on the telly. It's everywhere.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
I work in a shop now, here to help.
Talking of Big Finish. Freema Agyeman is coming back to Doctor Who to do some Big Finish.
Yes.
It was a surprise, this one, because I assumed that Freema was not completely done with Who, but she's had a successful career onwards from Doctor Who, and hasn't really. I mean, there are people that have obviously moved on, but they still talk about Doctor Who quite frequently. So David Tennant talks about it a lot. Matt Smith, anyone that does these kind of talk shows when they're on the sofa, like the Graham Norton, Jonathan Ross kind of shows, they always get asked about Doctor Who there, and on the convention scene, they're obviously there for predominantly Doctor Who and so on. But Freema, I've not heard her talk about Who in any interviews or anything like that for years. So this was a surprise to see her coming back for Big Finish, and she's in a Torchwood story. So she's not back for the main Doctor Who range, but she's back for Torchwood, and it's they're going to team her up with Eve Miles, and it's going to be for a Torchwood story called Dissected. And in this one, let me give you some blurb on this one. Martha Jones, who was the companion to the 10th Doctor in the second series, returned to the world of Torchwood in February next year, 2020. And she has... where's the blurb for it? Here we go. Sorry. Gwen Cooper turns up on Martha Jones' doorstep with a dead body in tow.
Oh,
she
nice.
needs to ask one final favour and to find out why they stopped being friends. A lot's happened to Torchwood since Martha left. A lot's happened to Martha since she left Torchwood. And there's something very odd about the dead body Gwen's brought with her. Tonight, she's going to be getting more answers than she bargained for. Because we know that the character Martha was in Torchwood, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
Very briefly. Yeah. So it's going to be a cool character story, I feel. This one, I think there's going to be a lot of good interaction between Martha and Eve, and just a little bit about Freema returning. So when they asked her about her coming back to the world of Doctor Who, I suppose, she says, "Oh, mate, the nostalgia has been quite overwhelming. It really is like stepping into comfortable old shoes. It feels like about 5 minutes ago, and yet so much time has passed." That's the wonderful thing about the Whoniverse. you never feel on the outside of it. It's great to be back.
Oh, that's
you up
nice.
for some Martha action, dude?
Yes, indeed.
That sounds dodgy, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you up for Freema coming back?
Yeah, both. No, it's interesting what you said, because now you mention it, I haven't heard her talk about Who for ages, and I don't think she's done a UK con for quite a while that I'm aware of. So, like you said, I think she's been busy doing other stuff. It's great to see her coming to Big Finish, actually, and quite interesting she's doing Torchwood, because I think I'm right in saying that way back in the day, she was supposed to be in, was it series 2?
She was.
Like as a main character.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was true. It might be in Russell's book. I can't remember. But I think she sort of backed out very late in the day, from what I remember at the time. And sort of, production went into chaos and they had to rewrite her part for someone else. And because she went on to do Law and Order or something instead. So she would have at one point been a main character in Torchwood. And obviously she decided at the time that wasn't what she wanted to do, so she moved on to other things. So I think it's pretty cool that they're bringing her back on the audios, so we actually get to have a bit more of her in Torchwood. And I think she kind of suits that role as well. I think she's quite, kind of suits the Torchwood sort of theme. So I think it's quite an interesting audio, this one. I haven't got any of the Torchwood ones. I'm sorry to say, just because of Big Finish's output these days, it's just a range that I really want. I hear it's really good, but I just don't have the time or the money right now. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of those that maybe in a year's time when they go on, when they do one of their sales that they do, I might pick up a few of these. But I mean, this one does intrigue me. I just feel like I've sort of missed so many of the Tortured ones. I don't know. I assume it's a standalone. I probably could just buy this one. But
I think so.
Yeah, it does sound good.
Mm. Yeah, it does sound good. And that's, like I said, it's not out until February next year. It's reasonably priced as well. It's a tenner for the CD and £8 for the digital download. So could be cool.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll definitely put it on my wish list, my Big Finish wish list. Anyway, mate, how about a new laptop bag?
Oh, I need a new laptop bag.
I thought you did. I actually do.
Yeah.
You should see the thing that I carry my laptop around in. It's literally covered in mold. It's horrible. Anyway, there's a lovely new bag out from Allons-y. Am I saying that right?
Allons-y.
Allons-y.
Yep.
I love these guys because they do. In the past, they've done the question mark umbrella. Mm-hmm. Still one of my favourite things ever. Well, them and Abbey shot. Question mark jumper. They did the scarf, didn't they? You've got the Tom scarf, which is the long version that you can probably wrap around yourself about 20 times. So they've done loads of great stuff over the years. They're continuing with their Who range with a really nice TARDIS laptop bag, actually. So it's basically it's a TARDIS blue, and it's got lots of white TARDISes all over it. Looks very, very nice. The zip features the Who insignia, and you'll find the seal of Rassilon, no less, embroidered inside. So this this could be for anyone, male, female, whatever. It's it's a really nice bag because on their website they've got various people modeling it, making it look very cool. So it says Meninda, who's the director of Allons-y, says there was never any question about which design we should launch as our new line of Doctor Who unisex bags. Our latest items are the result of years of hard work and planning, so we can't wait for you to see what else we've got in store. So it sounds like they may have got more on the way. But this one's available now, and it's priced $39.99. Do you like it?
No.
I knew you wouldn't. I knew this wasn't your thing.
No, it looks too feminine in the style, And don't get me wrong, that's not a bad thing. But I think, and there is a young male model on their website who's posing for it, posing with it, should I say? But yeah, it's not for me because they've got like the big. It looks like a women's bag because it's got the big handle straps and stuff, and they've just added a shoulder strap to it. It looks too feminine for me. It doesn't look like a laptop bag either.
I must admit, when I first saw it, I was thinking, it doesn't. Yeah, I didn't immediately see it as a laptop bag. I'm the same. I thought, because you sort of laptop bag I associate as just being a very square, boring, in the shape of a laptop. So yeah, I see what you mean. So you won't be sashaying in the BFI with this anytime soon?
Sadly not. No. I can see the appeal for lots of people. I can see a lot of people picking this up, but me personally, no, I'll give this one a
I like it. I was thinking, should I replace the Geek's handbag with it to just put a few badges on it? But no, I'll keep the handbag for now, even though it's falling apart.
Yeah, this will be you'd have to get a lot more badges, dude.
This is probably about 4 times the size at least. Yeah.
It's okay though. It's okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will like it, but I know what you mean. It's not for everyone.
No. Yeah, that's merch. That's all we have for you.
That's it. No B&M TARDIS.
No B&M. Oh,
how many are they releasing? Honestly, I just can't keep up with it. I mean, I'm loving the B&M stuff at the minute, but have you got yourself a B&M TARDIS yet, Gary?
No, I've not got any of them.
Get yourself a Sharda one on that shelf. You can't see this, listeners, but it's all Star Wars behind him at the minute, and this is a disgrace. Get yourself a Sharda TARDIS on there.
Well, the camera's not pointing towards the big ass bookshelf over here.
It's never pointing in the right way. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in his little man cave, and it's all Star Wars behind him. Traitor. Mind you, there's absolutely nothing behind me. It's a white wall.
yeah, at least I've got something.
At least you got something. Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyways, review time.
Yeah.
What we got, dude?
It's old Fluffy 5 this week. So we're back to classic Who with the Peter Davison story, Arc of Infinity.
This session of the High Council Time Lords is now in progress.
Tegan, do you think?
Yes.
The space-time parameters of the Matrix have been invaded by a creature from the antimatter world.
I am not of your dimension, Time Lord.
It won't be that easy to track this creature down. The universe is rather a big place, and there is an easier alternative.
To kill you? Saw the Doctor.
How?
We must find the Doctor, and the rest will fall into place.
The creature must be expelled immediately if we are to avert disaster.
He'll find a way to help us.
You will convey him to a place of termination.
Termination.
That sounds exciting.
It often does, doesn't it? The classic Who trailers. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Arc of Infinity was first broadcast back in 1983 in January. It's a 4-parter. It was written by Johnny Byrne. It was directed by Ron Jones. Stars Peter Davison, Sarah Sutton and Jeanette Fielding, and then a fairly reasonably sized supporting cast. And the story is Omega, the old Time Lord, is now residing in nothing more than antimatter.
He's still there shouting about it in his room. Oh,
yes, I think many moons ago, the Doctor kicked him out. And he
just won't let it go, will he?
No. And he's managed to figure out a way to come back into our dimension made of matter, obviously not antimatter, but it involves bonding with the Doctor, which fails initially. So while this is going on, there's a couple of dudes that are holidaying in Amsterdam. One of them happens to be Tegan's cousin, and he goes missing. So Tegan turns up in this one as well, and she teamed up with the guy his cousin was traveling with, and they're going to go and find him wherever he's gone. And but she gets captured as well. So Omega captures those guys and holds them hostage, tries to tell the Doctor to stop his meddling while he gets on with his plan. Otherwise, Tegan's going to get it. But then the Time Lords, they're a bit stupid in this story. I will be honest with you.
Yeah.
They essentially want to destroy. They're happy for the Doctor to be destroyed if that means that the Matrix isn't compromised and Omega can control everything, essentially. But the Doctor's a clever little peanut and manages to evade his death and then subsequently defeat Omega, which turns out to be fairly easy in the end. Yeah. So yes, the Arc of Infinity. What are your views on this one, bud?
It's a funny one, isn't it? I mean, this kick-started, the 20th season, and it's got so many interesting things thrown into the mix. You got the return of Omega after the brilliant 3 Doctors. You've got Tegan coming back And I'm just going to say this while I remember, how funny is that end shot of the Doctor when she says, "It looks like you're stuck with me," and he just goes, "Yes." Was that Davison or was that the Doctor? We don't know. You've got Gallifrey and Time Lords. It's some great elements here, but I can imagine this looked brilliant on paper. I bet the script was quite good, but it just somehow doesn't translate to screen for me. It's quite watchable, although there's a lot of endlessly walking around by those two twits in Amsterdam, and there's a lot of. I mean, what were they? Those bits really bored the pants off me when they were faffing around, because you just don't care about them. I just think cut all that stuff out. But I find it kind of watchable. I think it just could have been so much better. I can sort of see what they were going for, and why it sort of kicked off the season with all this stuff, but it just doesn't hit the mark, really. It's not one I reach for very often, but it's not one I dislike either. I mean, I'll quite happily sit there and watch it. There's enough in there to sort of entertain me, if you like. But yeah, it's not a favourite. Yeah, so it's a bit of a sort of it's an okay one, I think. But it could have been great, I feel, given a few tweaks here and there, and maybe with a better supporting cast. It could have been a lot better, because you got Amsterdam as well. I love seeing Doctor Who on location. I love it when we get to see the Doctor running around different places like City of Death and this one, Amsterdam. But even that feels a bit boring. We don't really see much of Amsterdam at all, really. So it's okay. I'll happily watch it, but I don't think it's anything special either. What about you, mate?
I actually quite like this one.
I thought you might.
Yeah, I've just got a bit of a soft spot for this one. I'm not sure why either. I really don't know why. I just feel, don't get me wrong, there are a few moments when I do feel slightly bored throughout the story. It's not one of, if you're looking for action and a bit more of a high octane experience, this is not the story for you. There's only a couple of little scenes that border on action, really. There's a lot of talking in this one. A lot of talking, a lot of walking, and a lot of Colin Baker as the Doctor, pretty much.
Do you know what's weird? I'd completely forgotten he was in it. Honestly, and this is probably the 6th, 7th time. I've watched this a few times over the years, and I don't know if it was just because I hadn't thought about it in my head when I put it on, but when Colin walked in, I was like, oh my God, it's Colin. So I completely forgot that he was in this as Maxwell. And obviously he gets to shoot the Doctor as well. He doesn't like wearing that big old hat though, does he?
Why? Who would?
Yeah, who would? Well, he says he couldn't get through the door. Actually, it's worth watching the making of on this, because Colin and Peter are on it, and they're quite funny. Because Peter's sort of ribbing him, saying, you just didn't want to wear it. He's like, I couldn't get through any doors. He's like, yeah, you just didn't want to wear it.
Yeah.
So, Colin's in it.
Yeah, it's very interesting, because when Colin did land the role of the Doctor, you could tell that, they were like, well, when you played Maxwell, you came across as quite stern and almost grumpy. So let's just have a bit of that. So any time that when Colin's the Doctor, he's got a grump on, he's essentially Maxwell. He's kind of transferred that over. So, so there's a lot of talking, a lot of walking around, but I do like the whodunit aspect, because you have one of the Time Lords who's conversing with Omega, but you never see his face, and his voice has changed as well. So you think, who is that? Which one of the council is the traitor who's talking to Omega? And it's kind of, I'll be honest with you, the very first time I watched this one, I didn't call it correctly. I thought it was Castellan that was the traitor when I very first watched it.
Yeah.
So I think they did the whodunit, who was the traitor, quite well. And it's got some cool build-ups as well, like the bit where the Doctor's going to be executed. We obviously know he's not, but there's that build-up. And even you see it happen, you see the process start, and you think, holy crap, are they actually going to kill the Doctor and somehow bring him back, but he's just been taken off to the antimatter dimension, hasn't he? He's been held captive by Omega for a bit. And then we have there's a friend of the Doctor, isn't there? I think he's called Damon. Is it Damon?
Well, the one he's like, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he's the one that works there, but he's the friend of the Doctor's. So that's the other thing that's quite cool about this story, is that it's really like... Hello, it's my cat. It's really like the whole Gallifreyan lore and Gallifreyan stuff is all in there. It's pretty cool. So you've got the High Council, and they mention Rassilon, and obviously you've got Omega, so that's kind of cool. But it's what's good about that is they didn't leave it there. They delved in just a tiny bit more. So you've got that reference between the Doctor and what's his face, when they kind of acknowledge that each other has regenerated since they last met.
Oh yeah.
So that's
Baruza,
kind of cool.
isn't it?
Baruza, yes. So that's cool. And then, like I said, this guy who's his friend who works at the Gallifreyan Matrix office, I suppose. He's overseeing all that stuff. So I do like the fact that we dive into some of that Gallifrey stuff, and it's like there was no massive, like, for series 12 that's coming up next year. I'd imagine that if they were going to do a story where the Doctor goes back to Gallifrey for something, there would be this tremendous hype around it. There was nothing back in the day for that. The Doctor's TARDIS has been overridden by the Time Lords, and he's on his way back to Gallifrey, and that's it. We're into the story. So I like all that stuff as well. So I do have a soft spot for it. I do like it, but I do agree it's not the most engaging of watches from the classic era.
But I think it's. I mean, I always like to see the Doctor back on Gallifrey, but I think one of the things that does let it down for me is Gallifrey itself. I mean, it looks so dreary. It does look like they didn't have a lot of money for this. I don't know if it went on the location shoot or what, but it does look. Gallifrey just looks very cobbled together. Like, oh, let's get that old sofa in. Yeah, that can be part of Gallifrey. Those light bulbs, just that grey wallpaper, and a bit of tinsel. And it's like, it does feel very cobbled together from whatever they had in stock. But also the Time Lords, they're so posh and theatrical and unlikable, aren't they?
They are unlikable.
I mean, they're incredibly posh. Oh, Doctor, you're back, are you? Oh, good to see you, old chap, and all this sort of thing. And but I know what you mean. It's good. There's some good interaction between the Doctor, and you do get the sense of I think even though a lot of the cast are different to the characters, like I know they're supposed to regenerate, but you do sort of get the sense that the Doctor knows them and there is a bit of history there and all that. So that does work in itself. But it's I know what you mean. It has all the right elements. I do think it could have been great if it just had a little bit more money. And I do feel like the cast are a bit laboured. Apart from the main cast, I think Davison's pretty good, but I think sort of like some of the supporting cast really they don't feel 100% into it to me. They just feel like they're it feels a bit sort of like a play, just rattling along, plodding along a bit in terms of performance, if you know what I mean. Whereas I feel Davison, once again, he's trying to put a bit of extra energy in there, isn't there? I mean, there's some good bits where he's getting cross with Nyssa. There's one bit where he really shouts at her. Actually, I was like, whoa, steady, Peter, steady.
He's actually, that's one thing.
Yeah, I think he had enough. That's one thing I do like, actually. It's nice to see just the Doctor and Nyssa. I think they work really well in that first episode where it's just the two of them. Well, I know they're sort of together for the two of them for most of it, but you know what I mean? I think they're quite a good dynamic, those two.
Yes.
All the stuff in the TARDIS at the start is pretty good, I think. I always love to see the Doctor fiddling around, like when he opens up a roundel on the TARDIS, you're like, what's he doing? And he's like, trying to mend something. I love it when they start removing roundels and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Because it gives you... It's almost like the TARDIS needs a bit of an MOT sometimes. And what's kind of cool also is that when he finishes, he takes the roundel off and he's finished repairing whatever it is. This is like, so on to the next job then. And you can tell that he's he's bored already.
He's like, I've just done that.
Yeah, I just fixed that game. And then she screams something and he runs back in and then the job gets put off anyway. because they need to investigate what's going on. But I just love that about that relationship between the Doctor and the TARDIS. It's like he knows exactly that the thing's not going to fall apart if he doesn't fix these little things or improve these little things. But Nissa's like, come on, we need to get all this fixed. And you can tell he's like rolling his eyes like, here we go.
I tell you what I did notice is that Nyssa says, Doctor, a lot. I was thinking this might be a good one for a drinking game, you know.
God, yeah.
I'll tell you, now I've pointed it out, the next time you watch this, you just keep an ear out for it. She said, I was thinking, I think it's the first and second episode. I was thinking, it's literally all she said. I mean, when she got the script, she must have been like, right, so at this point I shout, Doctor! And then he moves over there. Oh, and then he sees the thing. Oh, and I see that on the scanner and I go, Doctor! It's like she does, honestly. I think that's all she says for the first 2 episodes. And again, this comes down to the budget a bit. Like, so there's like this speck on the scanner screen and she's like, her reaction to it is as if there's something's big. It's like, you know, you'd think the TARDIS had exploded the way she's like, oh my God, come quickly, Doctor. And then you just see this little speck on the screen. It's like, well, it could just be anything. She's going mad. But, you know, so the budget sort of shows in that side of things. Not that ever really bugs me with Classic Who because I like it, but it's just, you know, you just sort of think, yeah, the reaction doesn't go with what we're seeing sometimes. Like, you can see the director going, yeah, you see that on the scanner, so you want to give it some, and she really does. So all credit to Sarah Sutton for all them different emotions she manages to put into the word Doctor. But yeah, I did notice she says it a lot. Next time you watch it, you'll see what I mean. Yeah,
I counted 5 times the last time I watched this the other day.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
What, just in episode 1 or all the way through?
1 and 2.
I was going to say there's a lot.
There's a few more than that later. Yeah.
But she's good, and I do like to see just the 2 of them together. Yeah.
I think that's a problem with a potential problem that they faced just with money in general. I think back then, because on paper this is a big story, really. And I think
it is. Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem with Gallifrey not looking as grand and as amazing as it could do, because all we see are interiors. Like there's a section where of the story, I think it's episode 1 towards the end, where the Doctor and Nyssa have landed on Gallifrey, and I think Nissa's like, where are we, Doctor? Or something like that. And he's like, oh, we're in the security bit in the heart of the Citadel or something like that. And when you hear that, you think, oh, they're in that bit where it's in like that huge glass globe
dome,
you know, the dome, and it must be amazing. But they didn't even have the money for an artist for a matte painting or anything like that to show. So there's no exterior shots at all from, you know, Gallifrey at all. Or you could be anywhere. All it is just a few corridors and a few rooms, and that's your lot, really. So
you don't get any sense of scale, do you?
No.
I think that's one thing I did think. There's, you know, like you might have expected, even if it was just a cobbled together, like you said, matte shot of a planet or something. You do just feel, it does feel a bit studio, which is odd compared to the sort of Amsterdam location shoot. You know, it does feel very studio, I think, and very confined. You know, it doesn't feel like this grand Gallifrey that we saw even in stories like The Deadly Assassin and stuff like that, where we've got great big wide shots of the room and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. It just does feel, a little bit too confined and claustrophobic for Gallifrey. I was just thinking, like you said, it is such a big story, and I've never read the book. So they did a Target novel of it. Possibly one of the most boring covers ever for one of because the Target covers are normally great, aren't they?
Normally,
This one's just got a photo of the Doctor and whatever that guy's name is who tries to shoot him with what colour is the background? Because I'm colourblind. Is it orange?
It's an orange,
Orange. It's an orange background, and that's it. It's like they've cut them out. They've got a photograph. They've cut them out carefully, stuck them on an orange background, and put the Doctor Who logo on it. So not the best cover, but I'd be intrigued to read it because it is a grand story. It does have a good storyline as well, and one that's fairly easy to follow. Because you know, sometimes with Classic Who, I'm not really sure what's going on. Sometimes I get quite lost, you know. This one is fairly straightforward. It's just Omega trying to bring himself back, using another body, and the Time Lords get involved and all that. And the other thing that I've noticed is that the novel's written by Terrance Dicks, who, of course, we sadly lost recently. So I'd be very intrigued to read the target novel of this, just to see what magic Terence brought to it, because I can imagine he's taken all these great elements and I would think made it into a good story. So I'd be, despite the awful cover, I'd be quite intrigued to get the book.
Yeah, because Terence had that
another
amazing,
one to put on the shelf and not read, but I'd be quite intrigued to get it.
No, I read you. So Terence had this as we all know, this amazing ability to flesh out a lot of the scenes that you wouldn't necessarily have time to do across the TV schedule.
Yeah.
So I reckon there could be some cool stuff in the book,
If any of our listeners have read it, just drop us get on the old Facebook or Twitter and just let us know, whether it sort of does flesh out all these brilliant elements that are all there. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, the story is fairly simplistic. There isn't too much going on. It's just the Doctor being detective for the most part, trying to find out how exactly they can stop Omega from going through, along with who is talking to Omega, because the reason why Omega's tries to anyway and is almost successful in bonding with the Doctor is because somebody within the High Council is transmitting the Doctor's biodata to Omega. So it's a bit of a, like I said, whodunit, who's the traitor, and then trying to stop Omega from coming into this dimension. So it's fairly, there's not some stories have a lot of threads running through it, and they all kind of go off and then intersect and go off and meet at the end, whereas this one's fairly simple. So not really much to talk about story wise. It's quite simple. Cast wise, you mentioned that the supporting cast felt like they weren't really into it. I do agree with you with the most part, but I do think there are two people that were fairly decent though. The first one was Paul Jericho as the Castellan. I thought he was kind of cool because he had that no nonsense. I don't care if he's the Doctor, because there's a point where I think it's Damon says to him, "Why are you treating the Doctor like a criminal?" He gets a bit humpy about it, but that guy isn't fazed, and he's the one that's giving Maxwell all the orders as well. He's like, "Go and hunt down the Doctor. Go and do this. If he any trouble, just kill him. It's all good." So he came across fairly strong-minded, and
I agree with you. I think he was good as well, because we do get to see him as the same character in Five Doctors, don't we? He's the one that says the famous line, isn't he? Oh no, not the mind probe. But no, I agree with you. I think he was good. I liked him as well.
Yes. Yeah. And then actually there were two others. I actually thought that Colin Baker was okay.
I thought Colin was good. I thought he suited that kind of sort of just no nonsense guard type thing. Yeah, no, I thought he was good. I liked Colin in it.
Yeah, he's a bit of a hard ass. And the other one was Hedin by Michael Gough. I think that he, even though he was trying, he played the nice card quite a lot, because there's a bit where the Doctor and Hedin, they meet each other, and they obviously were good friends. They've obviously, interacted a lot in the past. And there was another bit as well where the High Council voted on whether or not they should terminate the Doctor, execute him. And the Doctor says, was it unanimous? And they said, no, Hedin voted to keep you alive, sort of thing. So he's kind of playing the good guy card to mask his trail of, his betrayal ultimately to Omega.
Yeah.
But I do think that Michael Gough, like the early days, a lot of people know him as Alfred from the Batman movies.
Oh, is that where I know? I couldn't place him. I kept thinking I know that guy.
Yeah. He's the, not the new ones, but the 89 Michael Keaton films, those ones.
Is that it? Right.
So back in the day, though, he was quite an accomplished TV actor and film actor, I suppose. But I don't know, he did have a nice charm about him, and that's why it threw me the very first time I watched it. I thought it could be a bit of a curveball, and it turned out to be like the nice old friend of the Doctor is the traitor. But I don't know, he just seems too nice. But ultimately, he is. But yeah, I thought his performance was pretty good as well.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. Yeah, I think those guys definitely bring something to it. It is great to see Colin in here, knowing that he goes on to be the Doctor. And we didn't have to explain it either. We didn't have any flashbacks like we did Capaldi, did we? Like, we must explain why he looks like somebody he's already met. But yeah, I agree with you. I think those three were decent. I think the ones that let it down for me are the two lads that. So we got Tegan's. What is he?
Tegan's cousin, I think.
Cousin.
Yep.
I mean, wow. And but even worse is the other guy who. What's his real name? Because I think his mum was a director of Doctor Who or something.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name? All these months are off, and I still can't remember anyone's name. So yeah, so Alistair Cumming, who obviously played Colin Fraser, his mum was surname something Cumming. She directed a few Doctor Who's as well. Really sorry that I can't remember her name. I'm sure listeners will be screaming at us because she was quite well known.
Oh,
so
yeah. Yep.
Anyway, but I thought his performance was pretty weak. He just feels like, those two guys, they're sort of very typical of this era of television where it's very stilted. You feel like it could possibly be their first acting job. I mean, to be fair to them, I've seen worse. They sort of get the lines out okay and they do the reaction shots all right. So I'm not going to be too hard on them, but they're also not particularly great. So they sort of let it down for me a bit, I think.
Fiona Cumming. What's her name?
Fiona Cumming. Yes, of course. Yeah, Fiona Cumming. I don't know about you, but I really expected Tegan to lay into the Doctor as well, because the last time we saw her, he just dumped her on Heathrow, isn't he? Do you remember? It ends with her getting on the roof and, he's left me behind. So I expected her to, when she saw the Doctor, I thought, he's gonna get a right old ticking off. But no, she's doesn't even. She's don't worry about it. I've been sacked. I'm back now. It's all good.
What an anticlimax to Tegan's
come on,
story.
That's not very Tegan, is it? She'd have been like, well, thanks for leaving me behind. You
Well, I just felt really. So I watched this. I thought, this can't be Tegan's story. She literally banged on for so long about wanting to get back to Heathrow Airport for my job, and then she's back there for 5 minutes and they sack her anyway.
The sack, and she's like, "Oh well, never mind." I must admit, I think it's a strange way to bring her back.
It is.
It's an unusual. It feels pointless, doesn't it? It feels.
A little bit. Yeah.
I don't get it at all, and I don't really get the whole story with those two chaps in Amsterdam. Really, apart from obviously the fact that that's Tegan's cousin, so that brings her back into the story. It just feels very pointless. We get a lot of them wandering around that sort of crypt. It doesn't go anywhere, that particular story, does it? It's, we've got the chicken thing, Ergon. Well, that thing keeps pumping up. And so I don't know about you, but I didn't get what that was supposed to be. The Ergon. I was like, well, what is that thing? What is it doing? I
think it's just the thing that's been created by Omega.
Yeah. I was going to say, I only realised this when I watched the making of, and Johnny Byrne talks about, the design of it and what it was supposed to be. I think he describes it a bit of a sort of Frankenstein's monster. It's supposed to be the thing that Omega's been sort of using to test, tries to get back into another body like the antimatter. And obviously it's failed, and that's the result of it, or something like that. But what do you think of the Ergon? I mean, it's
the chicken.
It's memorable, isn't it? For all the wrong reasons, really.
It's just instantly forgettable. That's the thing, isn't it? We've seen rubber suits and floppy suits and stuff before, and
could it have been shot better though? I mean, it's a sort of slightly interesting design. Could it have been if it was more in the shadows rather than flapping around the studio floor, looking in completely the wrong direction and pretending to shoot people? Could it have been made better if the director had shot it better, do you think?
Maybe.
Or do you think it was doomed from the start?
It was doomed, yeah, because it had to be shot at the same level as the actors because it interacts with them. So you couldn't shoot it from down and up to make it appear big and...
I'd have kept it in the shadows.
It wasn't outrageous.
And also, Omega's TARDIS, I think they could have made a bit more effort to make it look different, because it's only really watching it again last night that I realised it's supposed to be, I don't know why, in my mind I'd always got confused and thought Omega was in the Doctor's TARDIS somehow. He'd transported there, and it was only really yesterday when I was paying proper attention to it that I realised it's supposed to be his TARDIS, is it? I mean, I don't know, maybe they could have just done something, because at least when the Master's TARDIS is in it, they paint the walls black and make it look evil.
Yeah.
They could have painted his walls green or something. I don't know. I just thought, oh, it's just the Doctor's roundels that they've shoved a few wires across and, made it look it's a different TARDIS.
Recycle and reuse, mate.
Yeah. What do you think about the bit where he's like in the transformation and all the slime's pouring out of him and he's like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that made it look too much like it, because actually, sorry, I'll start with another question. What do you think of the new design of Omega? Because obviously he looks totally different
completely
to how he did in the Three Doctors. Which do you prefer? What do you think of the new look?
I prefer the old one.
Yeah.
If I'm honest with you, I think it's got a much more cleaner, more, I don't know, more authoritative look to it. Whereas this one just looks like, I don't, it doesn't
I
seem
think
to
it
have any
looks
character.
okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Until he goes to that bit where he's supposed to be melting, and then he literally takes off the mask, and that takes something away from. I think it's like, oh, so obviously he just removes the mask, and we've got Davison underneath, who's now supposedly Omega, and I don't know. I think it just does literally turn into a rubber suit, doesn't it? And it doesn't have any grandeur to it like the one in the Three Doctors, I don't think. Which just don't know. It was iconic. It's such a simple.
Yeah.
He's just wearing that sort of gown and a big old mask, and that was it really. But it I don't know, something more iconic I think about the Three Doctors version of it. But I kind of like this one in its own way.
It's okay.
Yeah.
The original one from the Three Doctors though just had a big, like you said, looked grander. It looks more
more terrifying. But yeah, I was going to say, so then what do you think about the bit when he turns into Peter and he starts running around Amsterdam turning into a Rice Krispie? What do you think of that bit? Because I actually quite like Peter as evil.
He's quite
that
cool.
Bit,
yeah.
That bit where the kid turns around and smiles at him, and Peter does this weird, creepy grin back, doesn't he? And I was thinking, yeah, Peter's quite good at doing evil because it's very understated evil. So I thought he was quite good. Almost a bit of a shame that they then do that weird change over to Ian Collier, who was in the Omega suit, suddenly becomes, the sort of Peter Davison version of Omega, if you know what I mean. So it's all a bit odd. I mean, we knew at some point that there was just going to be a lot of running around Amsterdam, didn't we? It's like, right, we're in Amsterdam. We need to get some shots of this. So let's have us running down that road. Let's have us running in front of that church. And there's, which is pretty standard. You've got to show off a bit of the location. So episode 4 is pretty much a run around, isn't it? But I kind of liked it. And I do really like the bit where, and this is one of the things I love about Davison's Doctor, is when he has a moral dilemma. Like the bit where he's going to shoot Davros, but he just can't do it because he's Fluffy 5. But in this one, he's pushed to the limit. He's putting that gun together like the man with the golden gun. He's fixing it all together, and then he's like, oh, is the Doctor really going to kill him? He does. He actually does it. Really? He has to do it, doesn't he? But I like Peter when he's acting that style of, I don't want to do this because this is not my Doctor. I'm a nice Doctor. But he does have to shoot him. And I thought I really like that end bit. I thought that was good.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think Peter absolutely loved playing Omega. I think he would have had the opportunity to just do something different and not be kind, human-esque Doctor for just a half a day, just running around with the bubble wrap glued to his face and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that ending, that when he shoots Omega is very cool. He doesn't even, because he gives him the opportunity, he does say.
He does.
Doesn't he? He does give him the option, like, I don't want to kill you, let me help. But yeah, he doesn't even hesitate. He puts the gun together and then bosh.
Zap.
He's off.
Actually, I also just wondered what you thought of Ian Collier as Omega, because I really like, is it Stephen Thorne who played the original?
Yeah.
No offense to Ian Collier, he's perfectly good, but in my opinion, he's a little bit too theatrical, bit like the Time Lords. Like at the start, he's like, the Doctor must be captured. He's a little bit too trying to be evil. Whereas I think Stephen Thorne was a little bit more, when he does the Omega scream, it's terrifying in Three Doctors. And so I think Ian Collier was good, but I don't think he was as good as Stephen Thorne. I don't know. It's just something not as powerful in his performance for me as Omega.
Apparently, excuse me, apparently Ian Collier's pretty good in the Big Finish story, Omega.
Oh, well,
Apparently.
I listened to that, but years ago when that first came out. I honestly can't remember. I'm sure he is, yeah, but I can't remember.
I get what you mean, though. He is a bit theatrical. Big
Just a
booming voice, I have to be the evil one.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's like, yeah, the doctor must perish. Yeah, it's all a little bit, yeah. But it's good. It's fine. I think it's just because I can't help but compare the two. And I just didn't think he quite had enough. Yeah. He's a bit too, not panto, but he was borderline panto villain.
A little bit.
But he was fine. Just not as good as Stephen Thorne.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, Stephen Thorne was awesome in the Three Doctors.
Yeah. Yes.
What about Peter? Just for the before he's Omega. A fairly standard performance for him. Nothing really screams to me. If you get what I mean, from start to finish, it's just fairly. I wouldn't say paint by numbers, but fairly standard. Nothing that screams out that makes me think, oh, do you remember that bit from Arc of Infinity when the Doctor does X? It's just nothing like that, really.
It does feel, it does feel a little bit like Peter's going through the motions. It's not one of those where I think you can just tell that he's really not into it. It's not a time flight, but you can also, it's not a Caves of Androzani either. He's kind of just in the middle, I think, in this one. He's good, but like you said, there's no standout moment for me from Peter in this. I mean, the bit that comes close to it is the bit I just mentioned when he shoots Omega, but that's over in a flash, literally. So yeah, I like Peter in this. He's good. I love the stuff with Nyssa and love his face at the end with Janet when she says, "You're stuck with me." I'm like, oh god. But yeah, nothing special in this one. It does feel a little bit like his heart started to go out of it, because is this his last season, 20th season,
penultimate. He's got another one after.
Oh yeah, so yes, of course. So this is, yes, because Time Flight was the story before the end of the previous season. That's when he decided he was going to leave. So even though he's got 2 more seasons to go, at this point he already knows he's going, I think.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. You kind of sense that a little. I don't know if that's because we know that he knew. I don't know, but he doesn't feel like he's sort of 100% into it. No, I don't think, but certainly not bad.
No, not his worst. Like you said, not like Time Flight where he looks absolutely bored out of his mind.
Yeah, just like, oh dear.
But not like Caves kind of performance, I suppose.
Oh, nowhere near. Yeah.
No. And then Nyssa, like you said, she's okay in this, but she's just nothing. A bit like Peter Davison, really.
Yeah.
Just a little bit going through the motions slightly. There's that one scene where she plays upset quite badly at the thought of the Doctor potentially being executed, because there's one point where they think the Doctor's dead.
That's right.
And they're back inside the console room, I think. And she's supposed to be crying at the death of the Doctor, but she's, that lasts for about 10 seconds. Other than that, she just screams Doctor a little bit, and then that's it, really.
Yeah, I think the most feistiness we get from this series when she is having to go at the Time Lords, when she sort of threatens to shoot. She's like, "You're not going to kill the Doctor or I'll shoot you," and all that. And the Doctor takes the gun off her. That's a nice scene. But that's probably about the best scene she has in it. But yeah, she's fine. Again, I like Sarah Sutton as Nyssa, but not a great story for her. Not one of her better ones, I don't think.
No.
And obviously Janet. Well, well, she's just Janet, isn't she? She's just, I don't know. I just think it's so weird. She just pops back up at the airport and, "Hi, I'm back." And I don't. Like you said earlier, it doesn't quite feel like the Tegan we saw at the end of Time Flight.
No.
I'm trying to. What's the next story?
After
Snake
this one.
Dance.
Snake Dance,
Well, that's very much a Tegan story, actually. So maybe we'll see a bit more of that feisty Tegan in that. I haven't watched Snake Dance for ages, but that's the one where she gets possessed and all sorts, isn't it? So. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to see a bit more fiery Tegan, especially after being dumped on the Heathrow roof. I thought we'd see a bit of a bit more.
Yeah, I think that's kind of indicative of this story overall, really. Like I said, I like this one.
Yeah.
I think it's a good story. But in terms of the performances, it feels a little bit like – it's like the warm-up into the series.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, it feels like people are back into it. It's the first episode. Everyone's had a holiday. Everyone's had a break. They
Just
come back to
ease
it.
back into it.
Yeah, so no one's going too crazy or anything. But I would have loved to have seen Tegan rip into the Doctor a little bit. And
You left me on the blooming roof, you gazelle. No, what's that thing? You great
yeah, Galar. Yeah,
Galar. That's it. You great Galar.
But I think also the funniest bit is the Doctor's face at the very end, where she guess you're stuck with me, and you can just see. I reckon if the camera was on him, if they didn't cut for like another 2 or 3 seconds, you would have seen the rolling of the eyes and the frown and whatnot.
I'd love to see some outtakes of that. There's one outtake at the end of the documentary, the making of, where the director's telling Peter could you just brush your hair, Peter? It's a little bit out of place. I was thinking, like anyone would notice that. You're worried about that, but you're not worried about. It's incredible. But yeah, I'd love to see some more outtakes. They obviously exist because they've got that. But one other thing I just want to say before we wrap up, mate, is that I did go when I went to Amsterdam, which I love Amsterdam, actually. It's a great place. I did drag my other half to that building where the crypt is supposed to be and the fountain. And I would love to go there with you. It's actually a restaurant / wine bar now.
Oh,
it
nice.
might have been back then. I don't know, but that's what it is now. It hasn't changed one jot either.
Nice.
It looks exactly the same. There is no crypt. Sorry to destroy that illusion. It's just a fountain. I did have a very good look while I was there, trust me.
Did you walk behind it like they do?
I did. I had to went to go a load of photos. Yeah. But I just have visions of me and you sat in there because it's a really nice place, actually. It's a lovely place to go. And I did go and sit in there with my partner and have a nice glass of cold wine. And I could just see, when I was watching yesterday, I was just picturing me and you in there, just in the window. The camera just pans to the right. There we are, going, yay, cheers. Cheers, J&T. Yeah, but yeah, it's a nice place to visit. It's just, I can't remember. It's not far from sort of Amsterdam Central. I remember we got the tram there. It's just a little bit out of the sort of central Amsterdam area. Well worth a visit if you fancy a nice glass of wine anytime soon. Oh, nice. Forget London, mate. Let's just go to Amsterdam.
So no Ergon's wandering around out of the crypt.
Didn't see any. Actually, there's a lovely garden out the back. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't like that when they filmed there, but I kept thinking, if you were there now, you'd have to get that in shot somehow because it's really nice out the back of that house, but we don't see any of that. It probably wasn't like that back then.
Yeah.
It's probably just a load of old mud and trees and what have you.
Indeedy.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything you want to mention before we put a score on this?
No, I think we've covered it. Let's have a look at my notes here. No, I think we've covered it, mate.
Okay. Yeah. You can go first if you like.
I'm going to score this as 6.5 out of 10. It's watchable. It just doesn't quite hit all the spot for me that I think it could have done. I think it could have been really good, but 6.5.
Okay, I'm going to give this a 7.
A 7 already?
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for it. Just think it's a nice, watchable, good classic. It's not going to win any awards for best story in the Davison years or the classic era, but I do feel like it's a good watch. Yeah. Okie dokie. What did our gorgeous listeners think to this one? We had a few in. The first one is from Sammy Satine from Down Under.
Hey.
G'day, Gary and Adam. Sammy Satine here. So, the Arc of Infinity. I enjoyed this one. I know. Who knew I'd find another Fifth Doctor story I like? Okay, so those two backpackers aren't the greatest side characters, and one of them is Tegan's cousin, which doesn't help him. I don't like Omega's new mask. Also, turning him into the Doctor was interesting. Any chance Omega will come back to the show in the new series? Please, Chris Chibnall. Commander Maxhill. It's kind of weird looking at this and thinking, that's the next version of the Doctor. It's great to see Colin, though. I give it 7 double-crossing Time Lords out of 10. See ya.
Sammy agreeing with you there with a 7. She's going to be going mad about our Australian accent, isn't she?
Of course.
She's not going to be impressed.
Butchering the old accent. Yeah. Thank you very much, Sammy. Very much appreciated as always. Next up, this is Martin Arnold.
Guys, welcome back. Good to hear you in the vortex again.
Arc of Infinity, a great choice of episode, which is an opinion I don't suspect many will share, but I actually really do like this story. I think it's got urgency. The ending is a little underwhelming, but conceptually it makes sense. You know, Omega can't abide being in human form and explodes in a ball of green vomit, you know. Well, not explodes, but expires gracefully. I like it. It's got Gallifrey. That's always good to see. The stuff on Gallifrey is interesting. Colin Baker being an angry Time Lord, dressed bizarrely, not terribly out of character. I like it. This one is a genuine favourite of mine, and I will reach for this as a Fifth Doctor choice quite a lot, actually. And it's good to see Tegan again, even though she can be a bit annoying. Janet Fielding is a cracking actress, so this is 8 out of 10 for me. See you in the future.
Yay. A fan of the story.
Expires gracefully. I love that.
That's nice, yeah.
I hope I expire gracefully when the time comes.
Yeah, don't we all? Thank you very much, Martin. Next up is the final audio review, and this is from Luke Malloy.
Hello, Gary and Adam. I am glad that the show's back, and I hope that you're both doing well. Now, Arc of Infinity, or as I like to call it, Peter Davison runs around Amsterdam. I quite enjoy this story, especially Nyssa and Davidson. Nyssa's not my favourite companion that there ever was, but just seeing these two together does sort of make me wish there was just a couple more stories where they're together. I think the story really suffers with Omega. The new Omega has nothing on the booming old Omega from the Three Doctors, and he has just as weird henchmen. He did have the cell guards, and now he's got these chicken ergon things. The run around in Amsterdam's pretty cool. There's that nice scene where Omega or Peter Davison sort of smiles at the kid, and it's just on the right side of creepy. But overall, it's a bit cheap and tacky, and that sort of brings it down for me. It's nice to see Colin Baker, and I do find it funny that the Doctor just seems so annoyed that he's stuck with Tegan again, doesn't he? His quote is literally like, "So it seems I'm stuck with you again." He just doesn't like it. Anyway, yeah, I give this one a 6 out of 10. Thanks again.
Another 6.
Yeah. Very good.
Very cool. Thank you very much, Luke, and thank you guys for sending in your audio clips. Very much appreciated, as always. We had a few over on the socials, over on Twitter. Jordan Shortman, one of our reviewers and writers, says, "I love this story. The main cast put in tremendous performances, and the location shoot is stunning. It's nice to see Omega back, and I'm glad that they brought Tegan back because she's my favourite companion. I'll even forgive the Ergon. It's just a real blast." A decent thumbs up from Jordan. Rick Moran from the Doctor Who Appreciation Society says, a special mention for the Ergon. A silly monster looks like a giant bony plucked chicken. As a Doctor Who story, I would consider Arc of Infinity to be neither a classic nor one of the lesser adventures. On all counts, I would consider it to be a reasonably well executed story with plenty of elements to keep most Doctor Who fans entertained. Davison's performance shines, a solid 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10, alrighty.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Who else? Edward Giluli says, a decent story, but Davison running around Amsterdam with Rice Krispies stuck on his face is not great. A 6 out of 10. And over on Facebook, Jeff Waddle says, it takes a special kind of production team to take such wonderful ingredients, the return of Omega, Time Lords, Amsterdam, and combine them into a mess that's as dull as dishwater. The Gallifrey scenes are dull. The chicken monster is awful. The wonderful setting of Amsterdam is so underused they didn't even bother. They needn't have bothered going there. Omega does very little and really just collapses for little reason. And the return of Tegan is so improbable it's laughable. Davison looks embarrassed to be in this, and rightly so. What an absolute mess! Crikey!
Good grief, Jeff! Not liking it.
Not a fan at all. Charlie Turner. It's an all right story. It's just rather questionable as to why they decided to change who Omega is when compared to the magnificent late great Stephen Thorne portrayal of him in The Three Doctors, where he is so much better than who played this, despite having moments here and there. A 6 out of 10, a 6.5 out of 10, not the worst story in the world, but it could be better. And lastly, Dan Pinn says, the Ergon striding into the crypt silhouetted by the binding vivid light from Omega's TARDIS. My first memory of Doctor Who. As an adult, it doesn't seem so scary. So I've always had a soft spot for this story. Don't know why, but the 80s Gallifrey doesn't seem the sort of place one of the universe's most powerful races would hang out. Is that wood chip wallpaper I spy? Not perfect, but a solid, enjoyable story. A 6.5.
6.5.
So roughly the same scores throughout from everybody. Yeah, no one's dipped below a 6. No one's gone higher than a 7. So I would say from that it's a fairly decent middle of the road story that's, not awful, not amazing, but is a decent watch if you're in a real bind and you can't find any other Davison stories, I suppose. Thank you very much, guys, for your thoughts and reviews. As always, very much appreciated. Next week, we are back to Torchwood. So what we got next week, dude?
Yeah, so next week, an episode called Combat. Now, I would have watched the Next Time trailer when we reviewed the last one, but I can't remember what it was. Can't remember it at all. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, I think isn't Reese in this one quite a lot?
Is he?
I think so.
Okay, well, I like Reese, so
yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah, I think he's in this one quite a bit, if I remember. So yeah, next week, Torchwood Combat. So give that a watch. We'll be asking for your thoughts and reviews, as always. I don't know about you, Bud, but it's been awesome being back in front of the mic and bringing you guys the podcast again.
Yes, it definitely has.
Indeed, yes. And I think we will wrap there for episode 241.
Indeed. Cool.
Thank you so much for listening to the show this week. I know we've been away for a reasonably sized break, but we are back doing what we love, chatting about Doctor Who, reviewing Doctor Who, and just waffling on a load of Doctor Who nonsense. Thank you for all of you who sent in your reviews and thoughts. Awesome as always. We love our fan community. You guys are awesome. Next week then, some Torchwood action, Combat. So make sure you get that watched so you can give us your thoughts on that. In the meantime, head over to our website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our shows over there. And also on the podcast networks, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all that stuff. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast. You'll find us on there. Give us a subscribe so you don't miss a show when it lands every Friday. Also, check us out on the social channels. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we're on those. Give us a like and a follow so we can chat Doctor Who with you guys throughout the week in between episodes. Also, check out Adam's channel, The Geeks Handbag.
Yes, The Geeks Laptop Bag.
The Geeks, yeah. Over on YouTube, just do a search for The Geeks Handbag. Give Adam a subscribe on there. Tons and tons of really cool videos to get lost in for ages. If geeky reviews and unboxings and location spots and all of that stuff, if that's your bag, then Adam has got the channel for you. So The Geeks Handbag. And Adam's also on the socials as well. Under the same name, The Geeks Handbag. So get involved in there. Go over and give Adam a like and a follow. So again, we can converse about Doctor Who.
Yes.
Until next week for episode 242. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,